Hey guys, I'll give you the fancy opening in a second. We might have to break in on the president's speech here. I didn't realize that it was going to be exactly at 8:30, so we might be playing that as well. I'll give you the fancy opening, and then we'll get to it. Time to make the donuts. Hold on. Let's get this going, get that on, and there we go. Cool. We're good to go. Let me just see if we can grab the speech. I got to just look at this out of the corner of my eye and see if there's something there. Someone sent me the link already. Hold on, let me just grab it just in case he says something that we actually have to pay attention to, which very well could happen today. So, world needs a stronger NATO. Here we go. It's not on yet. So I'm going to turn this down. And we're going to throw this up here so that I have that over there. Let's do it this way. I'm going to throw you up here, and then I'll throw you over here. And then we'll see if we need this or we don't need this when he speaks, because we're probably going to have to pay attention to it to some extent, I think. Depends on what he says and what he does and how crazy this gets. So, all right, cool. So we're good and ready to go. And let's get this up here. And, oh, good. Larry Fink. What could go wrong? All right, let's keep going. And I'm just going to, I have it up just in case he comes on. I want to talk about Netflix. This was really bad. And a lot of people don't understand why it was so bad. They're stopping their buybacks, which is not great at all. And then after they stop the buybacks, they are also saying that they need to borrow $9 billion, 8.2 to be exact, to invest into the WBD deal so that they can make money off this deal. And they're stopping their growth targets because they have to use all their cash to buy it. So they're saying that growth is going to slow. So they even lowered their earnings for next quarter going forward. This is a real issue. And institutions really aren't going to like this. And that's why it's getting smoked so much. So we actually did a spec trade yesterday and shorted it. And obviously happy with that. But I think, I think overall, I don't see that getting up off the ground. If I was to look at the levels, let's go take a look at this real quick, and then we'll get to some of these other things that I think are super important. The put wall is 85. Does it bounce? I don't know. I don't see that it's going to get better. If I was an institution and I heard that conference call, and I suggest that you listen to it if you're in the name, um, I think they have a lot of problems, like a lot of problems, and I don't think it's going to get any better. So it's definitely on the radar, and it's definitely something that we need to pay attention to today. And I don't even know that they're going to get the deal. And now they're talking about this could take them. I think someone said it could take them 18 months to 2 years, and there's no guarantee they're even going to get it done. So I do think there's an issue there. I think there's a big issue there. So it is what it is. I want to get that out there. I definitely think it's worth paying attention to. If I had to look for other levels where you may see some support, it's a pickle, man. Like it's not really out there. You really don't have anything till like 77 that you can really like hang your hat on. Like 80 is a round number. But I don't really see anything. So we'll kind of go from there and see how this goes. But some of the headlines are coming out, what he's going to say. He's saying inflation's been beaten, and the people really aren't going to believe that. So, so I think if you really take a look at this 85, 80, like I don't see, you can get down to 77. I mean, I definitely think it could happen. So here he comes. And, I have it up just in case he says something, but I have the news up as well. Oh, great. They're all hugging. All right. One big club and you're not invited. Okay. Where do we got? We got right here. You're holding there. So if we break there, what are we looking for? We're looking at 77, which is where I think you're going. That's where I think that you're going to go. I think you have a shot at getting to 77 today. You hit that one level and you just bounced off it really hard. So let's go take a look at that level and go from there. If he says something, I'll break in on it. Other than that, I'm not going to break in on it. So that level's pretty good. That level that we nailed down there, that's pretty good, that level. You probably want to watch that, see if it starts to build there, and then we can kind of go from there. Let's see, I'll take a look at that on a 5. I still have a big short in this, so I really haven't done anything with it. I don't know that I have to yet. Yeah, maybe you hold, or maybe you're going to be in a holding pattern. And let's get to the ES. I think that that's important for us too. Wick City. So you guys, for time's sake, I'm just going to go through this because with him speaking, I don't know how much time we're going to have. You guys remember that the volume profile is from here. And before I forget, if you are trying to get into the community, a batch of people got invited yesterday. Maybe it was 10% of the wait list. They have, people get invited in. I think it's like 4 days, and then it goes to 3. The wait list is getting pretty big. So if you want to get into the community, just make sure you get on the wait list. The link's in the description. So I don't know. I don't know if you're going to break that or not. I think that, if, the way that I'm describing it today to me is like you're standing on quicksand. And if you think you know what's going to happen, you don't. Nobody knows. Like you have to understand that, 2 weeks ago, everyone thought everything was fine with US-EU relations and trade relations. It's clearly not, and it's definitely an issue. So we seem to be holding that level, and we want to make sure that we hold that level. And then from there, we'll have to see how it plays out. and go, and go from there. But that's really where my head is. And, we'll have to see. So you have to see how that goes. But that's really, how I say it. Hold on one second here. Let me just make sure of something. Yep, good. And if you look at that on the 4-hour here, so I don't know. I don't know if you're going to crack that like an egg or not, but could you see 6,500? Yeah, you can. It's actually not that far off, guys, to see 6,500. It really isn't. You're looking at something like, pardon me, what is that? 3%, 3.5%? Is that what it is? Yeah, 3.5%. Like that's nothing. That's a Wednesday, Thursday. That's absolutely nothing for us to see that. And it can happen. You've been in this range for some time and you're really very rarely getting out of it and you pop back into it. But these ranges can drop. They can drop. I mean, the ES range dropped pretty, it was here and now it's moving down. So, actually, we'll take screenshots of these and go back and take a look at them. So, and you can also just do it and time lapse it. But I like the hard copies. So, it's probably because I'm a boomer, right? But I do like the hard copies of them. So far, I really haven't said anything that that I can say that. Trump's speech marks hope for Greenland off-ramp. Okay. I don't even know what that means. The other thing I would say is that in relation to the SPY, you broke that put wall yesterday and you cracked it like an egg. Like you didn't even think twice about it. And you tried to get through it in the Asia market and you couldn't do it. So to me, everybody, especially the beginning of the year, you tend to de-risk. And then after you de-risk, then you come back to it. And I think that's what's going on here. So I find it pretty fascinating, personally, how fast you got through that put wall. Like you didn't even blink, man. You always got to look at that stuff. And I think a lot of that is people don't understand what happens when large banks and large central banks de-risk. He's still talking about Biden, for God's sake. Use your inside voice. Go to your happy place. Go to your happy place. All right, let's go to the Qs. And for me, let's go take a look at this so you can say it. I've been yammering on like old man shaking his hand at the cloud in The Simpsons on this area forever, and that we've just been unable to break it. And you had to pick a direction. Rising wedges end in what? I said all the time, tears, and here we are. So it's not where I want to be, but it is. I like it when they go up. It's easier. But if we take a look at this level, you cracked it. You made a lower low. It does set you up. Your new put wall is down here. And that's definitely something that you want to pay attention to. And then, of course, you have to watch that 585 level as well. And it's in play. Like, 600 is the new put wall right now. I see it as the new put wall. Some people might not have moved theirs, but their logic's inferior to mine. 3.6%. It's a Wednesday, Thursday, man. It's nothing. The biggest time that you can always just see what's going on, always just look at what Asia is doing. If Asia is down, then we're going to be down. And that's usually the way that it works. I don't really understand. People were, loaded for bear on the speech. And Thailand tourism takes hit as China arrivals plunge 30%. Oh, that's interesting. Corvus, I got to look at that. What's going on there? There must be some good news. Do we know what's that? I don't know. What was that yesterday? Did they get good news? A lot of people taking that up today. Let's get to it. So where does that? It's interesting. I guess they were supposed to do a secondary. They didn't. Hmm. Give me 1 second. Let me just see if there's anything here. Not worth mentioning. All right. So let's just keep going. Yeah, here it begins. Oppenheimer lower target price on Netflix. I think a lot of people are going to do that. Goldman did it before. Goldman did it before earnings, which was pretty fascinating. Their bear case is 77, which looks like they're dead on. I guess earnings weren't as great as people thought they were going to be. Let's get back to the Qs. So I think that you can see a 3% drop here. That puts the NQ really what we were talking about. You're already through all the moving averages, but this is what I don't really like. And if you stay under it and you can't get back over it, it gets ugly fast. So when you break these kinds of, it's all marked from here, but when you break these kinds of levels, that becomes a real problem. So it's definitely on my agenda to watch that, because you've already broken all those moving averages. So if we go here and take a look at that, like the 55, it's right there. Let's do it this way. It'll be easier. You know what? Let's do it this way so that you guys can see. And we'll go to the AC. Oh, God, what a pig this thing is. Let's go to here. And let's go to the Qs for a sec so you can see it. And if you go there, a lot of people are starting to look at the 100. I don't really use the 100 that much. But, you know, you're right there. So it's not great. You broke it last time and held and held and held. So, you know, 600 means that you're going to close below it. And I do think that there's something to that. And I think there's something really important about that. And I don't know, you know, I guess my biggest concern here more than anything, I'm trying to figure out the right way to say it is, you know, this was one thing when you're like, there's a trade imbalance and the trade imbalance has got to change. And this is what we're doing. And here's my special piece of cardboard. And we're going to do all this winning and liberation, right? There's something very different about give us Greenland or we're going to raise tariffs because we need it. Like there's something very different about that approach than this approach. And you know, I don't know how that's gonna play out. So it's definitely something that's worth paying attention to. And I certainly think that people need to pay attention to it. So, you know, I do. I don't know how they're going to respond to this longer term. And the idea that it's so easy, just go out there and buy the winners, you know, you better be careful if they start changing their tune. And I think that's really where my head is. Like, do they change their tune here? And I don't know, man. You know, I truly don't. And I think anyone that thinks that China's not going to change their tune or Europe's not going to change their tune, you know, and on relationships is delusional. This is how stuff starts. So you see the break right there. I'm just going to leave that there so people can see it. You can see, you got to get through that. You got to get back over that ASAP. If that becomes resistance, you're going a lot lower. And I still think that they might de-risk today. I still think that they might de-risk today. It looks like we're talking about, uranium again. I don't know why everyone's surprised by that. You're probably better off fading it the way this is going. They've been just fading. And take a look at SanDisk and these names. You can trade them, but you're 1 day away from, I think you're 1 day away from those names coming in really hard. You only have so many names that are up right now, right? There's only so many names that still are up right now. And I think that that's very important for us to note. So let's get to it and we'll go from there. I'm going to see what questions we have. I do have to jump early today at 9. Yeah, I think that you want to just stay out of the way until this settles down. Because my problem with this is here's the problem with it. You might be better off looking at stuff like this because nobody cares about, no one's really going to care about Monster Energy and what's happening in Davos, right? So the XLP and bulk stuff might actually continue to grind higher. This stuff makes sense to me. I don't know what the news was yesterday. I'd like to look into that. I know some XLP stuff jumped yesterday, but I'd like to look into that. I'd like to look into why that moved the way it did, John, and you know more about that than I do. I don't know the story yet. My problem with, thank you. My problem with Newmont, he hates windmills. Why does Trump hate windmills so much? So angry about windmills. When I look at Newmont, I'm always like, oh, of course you can go higher. I think you have to watch very, very carefully that you don't step into something. And I don't know that we're going to be swimming in world peace, but the moment that happens, this is going to get smoked. Now, I don't see it that way. But, these things just keep on grinding. So it is what it is. I think the mining companies are definitely the place to be. Trump, German energy issues are currently not the chancellor's fault. No, they're not. I think it was Merkel that did that, right? Isn't she the one that shut that all down? Uranium's bad. It's too cheap. It doesn't make us rely on anybody. Yeah, I don't know. This thing's got to get moving for me to want to short it, if that's what you're asking. I think that this is where you need to go right now, Jay. And I think you have to have 1 foot out the door. Not particularly this name, but I was looking at some of this other stuff, this kind of thing, OKLO, this stuff's going to all explode this morning, right? And we should have known that he was going to come out and talk about it. It's not really rocket science that he's going to talk about, uranium and how great uranium is, and he wants to bathe in uranium. We shouldn't have thought, we should have understood that. I think the question with this really becomes, does this continue? And to me, if you want the truth, I think they squeeze shorts for the first hour and then this stuff all rolls over. That's where my head is with it. I wouldn't be chasing this stuff. I haven't seen anything really hold yesterday. You had 2 names that were tech that really held yesterday, and one didn't even really hold. So that's kind of where my head is. I think when I look at someone like Europe, I think that they're we need to de-risk. We're too spread out here. We need to de-risk. So I don't know that means that, what I need to do? I need to buy uranium names that have no revenue. I don't think that that's what it means. So, you can trade them, but I don't know. I'm always early I'm always early on that. So, on the fade, it's just the way that my mind works. But, I do think that that's where that's going. I'm not chasing uranium on this. I think the IBRX and the stories are the way to go. I think the other thing, the way to go is to look at stuff like CRML and these names, because I don't think that that's going away. I don't think any of this is going away. Like MP, I don't think any of this stuff is really going to go away. I think that this kind of stuff, you can trade the SMRs, like they're all going to spike on, what he's saying. Like all this stuff will spike on what he's saying, BWXT. But does it have teeth? No, I don't think so. I really don't. So let's keep going. Copper, to me, the fact that copper dropped yesterday made 0 sense to me. When I was looking at this yesterday, I just didn't make any, like, why aren't you rallying? And it didn't really make a lot of sense to me. So, you're definitely going to rally today. So, maybe that was the trade yesterday out of all of it. Maybe that was it. But I have a tough time buying this stuff when it's up. Here he's talking about Greenland. No one can secure Greenland but us. Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty clean breakout. I own CBX. I don't know if I'm right here. These people don't seem too eager to go into Venezuela and dump money. And I think that that's going to be a real issue in the midterms. So it seems to be booming. I mean, how many people are moving there? Are a lot of people moving there? Yeah, I don't know the story there. God, 10. The country was trading at 10. It acts great. I think you might see some movement on that as this continues, but I don't really think that we have to I don't think I really have to do anything with it. I mean, we've been in this for a while now. It's probably going to finally break out of this. It never really made any sense to me why this was not getting any play, like at all, like zero. This made 0 sense. Like if you want to buy Intel, why don't you just buy a company that actually works? So, saving Greenland for Denmark, how they're ungrateful. Well, okay. As he makes friends. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Someone should buy him a book. I don't really understand why copper didn't move yesterday. I think copper should have moved. I really like this trade. Greek, I would agree. I'd want to learn about. EC is going to just be a monster. Once we're through, I think we're looking at a monster. Again, I'm going to just wrap this up and just say, if you're trying to get into the community, please make sure that you check your email, because once that's over, it's over. I think there's 3 days left for the batch that just went out. I've got to watch who's coming in. I talk to everybody, and it's getting much harder to get in there than it was last year. So because there's only so many people that can be in there. Leverage, tickers, metals, minerals, been killing it. Yeah, I don't know how you hold this. I mean, is it just spray and pray? Like I mean, like I'm being serious, or is it just small positions you just hold and go, oh God, I hope things keep getting worse? I don't know. I look at this at like down here when it was like at 165. I shorted at 200 to 165. I did exceptionally well. I don't know how you're holding this overnight, just going out. Everything's going to be fine. I'd be so worried about them just halting silver. Um, and maybe that's because I've seen what happens and how this ends. But that would just concern the heck out of me. You know, if you really look at this and how it's acted, it's just been, you know, you've just been a monster. It really has. Like, if you really get into it, I don't even think from this break that you can say, you could maybe make the argument here, you know, after here that it broke and closed below it. You know, maybe you could make that argument, but then you're here, it doesn't. And then you're like, no, I'm waiting for the close below the 12. And you never really close below the 12. So maybe you're using a guide like that. But I look at this and go, man, how the heck do you stay in that? You know, and I really think I think that's a tough one to really, you know, to look at and go from there. But oh.
Order partially filled. Order filled.
I'll just get out of that. And from there. Oh, I was going to take a look at this Netflix and see what's going on. Might be tightening it up going into, yep. Going to tighten it up going into the open. It looks like you're going to try. Let's see what you do here. I'm just trying to read some of these comments by him, see if there's anything there. Yeah, I think that when you start looking at this stuff, there's definitely something to it where if you look at RKLB and we look at something like that, you delayed that flight. And if you delayed that flight, who cares? But they're going to smoke it from 100. You're probably coming down to like 85. U.S. seeks immediate talks with acquiring Greenland. Okay. Well, so there it is. Well, how'd the market respond to that? Oh, good. It went up. Not really sure what he said there that would have gotten the market to go, yeah. But six. So 8. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about that little pop there. Like, let's go take a look at some things. Yep, sure. I don't know why the market just would have moved on him saying that. Good morning from Miami. What's up, Tariq? Yeah, I mean, I love the name, but I just, you know, I said this yesterday to people, trade it, but man, you know, you're one day away from just having a really bad day right now. Like, I just don't think that they're going to hold everything. I think that if this gets worse, they're going to blow out of everything and just stay out of the way. And, you know, I just think that that's where this is heading. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I'm going to have to jump. Let me just go through this super quick. You guys are freezing. What's up, Lynn? I almost couldn't put the top down today. It was brutal. I don't know how it does. You know, I think ECUM, I think EUAD is the way to go there. I really do. I think that's the way to go. Guys, seriously, please make sure that you are looking for those because people are going to reach out to me. So please make sure that you're either on the wait list or that you find those, the emails that went out yesterday. Bum, 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 bum. If that deal falls through, the stock should go up a lot. If the deal falls through, the stock should go up a lot. They should walk away from the deal. I think the egos are too big, but everyone's downgrading the stock this morning. Like it was a really bad call. It's basically like it was basically like we need WBD to grow or we're not going to be able to grow. And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that you're going to stop your own stock buybacks to buy a company. Like nobody wants to hear that. I think all that stuff will go. Yeah, I'm short Tesla. I'm probably going to short more. I don't know that I don't know. I feel dirty. Shorting. You know. All right. So they're going to short them. So. Let me just say this. Yep. So you're probably going to drop on that. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Order cancelled. Order partially filled. Order filled. Order cancelled.
Give me 1 second here. All right, I got to jump, guys. I like BE a lot. A lot. I really, if people really looked at this, they would love this company. But I don't know that I would be buying anything that's breaking out right now. You know, I think you have to be super careful with everything. I really do. I think you have to be really careful with what you're doing here until you get a true picture of what Europe's going to do. Mexico can come under pressure today. NBIS would scare me because he knows that if I know that China's using it, they know. I got to jump, guys. Trade to win. Make good choices.